Hi, everyone. Great to have you with us. A brand new edition of the MSG 150 at Home presented by Chase. We hope everyone had a great holiday weekend. Bill Pidto along with Alan Hahn, Monica McNutt, and John Wallace. And of course, guys, this is Alan's favorite time of year because it's the anniversary, May 24th, a couple of days ago, when the Islanders won their first of 4 straight Stanley Cups. So that means book sales are way up. And that's why Alan is in such a good mood here today.
Has it on their website now. We're trying to get bestseller. I mean, it's the greatest story ever told. Come on now. The last great hockey dynasty, don't at me. 4 straight Stanley Cups, 4 straight championships. And it started, but just quickly, that story of that team that people forget about is they almost broke that team up because they had failed in the previous 2 years. They were the number 1 team in the league in '79 and lost in the playoffs. And that was a big upset to the Rangers of all teams. The year before that in '78, they were upset by the Maple Leafs. And in 1980, they weren't playing well at all throughout that season. And there was talk of, you know what, maybe they're just not good enough. Maybe it's time to just break this team up. It's a good thing they didn't. They doubled down. They made the trade for Butch Goring, and the rest is history. And it's a history that you can read about.
He'll do anything, won't he, guys, to try and sell more books?
Listen, I support it, Hahn. We love a good prop, a well-inserted, timely prop at that. Let's do it.
And like Monica, while you guys talk, I'm gonna read.
Hey guys, obviously a special Memorial Day weekend. We want to thank all of the healthcare workers who are helping all of us, and we're taking care of those who are taking care of us. Madison Square Garden partnering with Chase to deliver takeout orders from local restaurants for frontline workers throughout the tri-state area. Thank you to our home team heroes, as always. And a developing situation continues with the possible return here, guys, of pro sports. NBA possibly working toward a 16-team return, which would mean those teams not in playoff contention would not play. Now, keep in mind, in the West, there are 3 teams, 3.5 games out of 8th. In the East, Washington is 9th, 5.5 games out of 8th. So, John, when you break it down, maybe the argument is that only the top 8 in each conference have a legitimate concern, a legitimate situation in terms of trying to win a title because everybody else is so far out of playoff contention.
Yeah, and I hope they don't do the whole 1 through 16 format. I hope they keep it the way they always have, keep it traditional and conventional. The top 8 teams in the East, the top 8 teams in the West, they play it out. And then we get to an NBA championship. I don't want to see the Lakers playing against the Nets or anything like that in the first round. Personally, I'm old school. I just want to see it the way it's always been. I don't want to change things up. If you're going to change it up, you got to start at the beginning of the season, so guys can have a good strategy and change whatever they're going to do during the year in terms of trying to get in position to make the playoffs, as opposed to some teams who are now out of the playoffs, not trying to make the playoffs. You're going to make those. Ask those teams to come back. You don't want too many players there in the bubble. The least amount of players you can have in the bubble, the better for the bubble it is in totality. So I think we get to the 8 teams. You're never going to get it's not like in hockey sometimes when the 8th seed or can win a Stanley Cup. And the 8th seed, the 12th seed, or anything is never going to win an NBA championship. The Knicks came close that one year when they were the 8th seed and lost in the finals in '99 to Duncan. But for the most part, it's rare when an NBA team, 8 seed or down, is going to win an NBA championship. So let's just keep it the top 8 the way it's been, and let's get this thing going because everyone's excited that with the possibility of the NBA season resuming.
Monica, why are you laughing? He wasn't funny.
Hi, insert name, millennial here, willing to shake up the old school format and mix
I'm with you. Shake it up.
Here we go.
Look, Hahn, I know you keep coming for me for being a millennial, but listen, J-Dub, if there was a scenario where we could get the Lakers and the Clippers competing for the championship, you don't want any parts of it? You just want it to remain traditional East-West?
Yes, I always wanted East-West. That's the way it's been from day one. I don't want to see the Clippers and the Lakers playing in the NBA Finals. I want to see the Lakers or the Clippers playing against the Bucks or the Raptors, whoever from the East. That's what makes it intriguing. Just like everyone always thought the West was going to be stronger, But in the last 5-6 years, you got two teams from the East that's won the NBA Finals. So it's not a foregone conclusion just because the West have a deeper talent pool and better teams overall that the West is going to definitely win the championship. The Toronto proved that last year.
You got a fair point there, but I personally think that now would be the time if we were going to mix up the way that things are done. Small comparison, the WNBA went to a seeding versus East and West. It boded great results for that. Now, granted, that league is younger. The West has been typically very dominant in the women's league. I get it. But we got to remember that this conversation was a buzz before we got hit by COVID. So I think that this might have a little bit more momentum than people are acknowledging.
Okay, you're right that there's been talk about changing the format based on the fact that the conferences are imbalanced, especially out in the West. And you can claim that it's harder to get to the finals than it is in the West than it is in the East. You could also say that if Durant had not gotten injured, the Raptors would have never won the championship last year. But all that stuff aside, this isn't the time. I agree with John. This just isn't the time to do it. You've had a full season enough. You've played a 50-game season. You've played a 66-game season in the past. And so you can have a season where everybody's played 63 to 67 games and still consider it a full season. Get right to your postseason and play. Just do that now. It doesn't mean that in the future you can't say, all right, but in 22, we're going to start playing a 1 through 16 format where it's just everybody seated. But we're not, like, you weren't preparing for that this year when you were playing in the regular season.
Exactly.
But to me,
you're preparing for COVID? What does that have to do with it?
No, but it has to do with your mentality going in. You know what I don't want? I'm always in the no excuse business, right? And what I don't want this year is the excuse. Well, they changed the format. Well, it's not fair because you didn't see this team or they didn't have to play that team to get into the championship game. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, do you suddenly say, wait a second here? Like, we're the best team in the league, and those two teams, like, they don't have to play each other before playing us? Like, you know, now that they'll be 2 and 3, we'll be 1, and now they don't have to, you know, so to me, it becomes a situation where I don't want LeBron to have an excuse. I don't want the Clippers to have an excuse. I don't want the Bucks to have an excuse. You lose because the format didn't change, and that's fine. But Monica's not wrong that I do think they have to revisit the idea of playing a 1 through 16 because we have such an imbalance in the East and the West.
So this is my only thing to you, Hahn. When we talk about returning in the midst of a pandemic, and we love what Michelle Roberts is saying on behalf of players, everybody wants to get back. In that instance, it's okay to have some sacrifices and be a little bit uncomfortable. Your argument for not changing the 1 through 16 right now, both you and John sound a little bit like the Charlie Brown character to me. Wah, 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 wah. Like, there's never going to be a perfect time to make a change. Human nature is to be resistant to change. So why not? You going to read your book on me?
Now you got him reading his book, Monica. These guys are phasing you out. John, pay attention.
This is to me about removing all excuses. That's what I'm saying. This is remove all excuses. And if I start changing formats and we do that's why I don't think you should expand it. You shouldn't go, well, let's allow the top 12 teams and have these 1-game plans. No. Look, you were getting ready. It was March. You were getting ready for the playoffs at that point anyway. Right. Let's just dive in. You are where you are right now. Play them, and then let's worry about next season and make sure that everybody's healthy and ready to go, and we can have a somewhat normal 2020, 2021 season and just get this one done. I just feel like that's what you got to do. Keep it as simple as possible. Don't create any more. It's going to be weird enough. No fans, playing in Disney, you know, whatever else you're going to have to deal with having your temperature checked all the time, having a swab stuck up your nose every other day. Whatever it is, it's going to be weird enough. Throwing in like this new format will not feel like the NBA playoffs, and then therefore you'll have that gigantic asterisk on this season, which is the other thing nobody wants.
Now, speaking of new conditions, the governments in New York and New Jersey have authorized pro teams to begin training camps. And guys, we have video of individualized workouts for the Red Bulls of the MLS yesterday. John, when you take a look at some of this and what they're going through just to work out individually, what do you think?
I think they're willing to sacrifice and do anything to get back to playing sports. They're tired of sitting at home. They're tired of not competing. They're willing to get a swab stuck up their nose early in the day, later on that night. Me personally, I don't know if I can do the swab thing. It's just the thought of it. But I guess if I was an active player, I'd do anything to play because you just love playing and love competing. And the fact that those guys are willing to do that says a lot about them and the fact that they're willing to get back out there.
It looks so
come in.
Yeah, you're first walking up to somebody and they're just holding whatever that was right at your forehead. It's like, whoa, I just want to play. but like that's already aggressive. But on top of it, it also looks pretty lonely. I mean, you have to isolate. You're by yourself. You're just kicking the ball around, but it's better than the alternative. And the alternative in basketball was Trae Young shooting on a Huffy hoop. Instead, he can actually shoot on a real hoop in a real gym. So let's get there. But yeah, look, it is going to be strange. But if you want to play, this is the new normal, right, Monica?
Absolutely. I mean, and I think the new normal is really what we have to all kind of say, because I don't know when we go back to normal. I think you're right, though, Hahn. That's a great point about how lonely the life is. I mean, the locker room was my favorite. Well, besides winning, but you guys know the locker room is like the best part of having a team working toward the same goal, the camaraderie, the jokes, and you're like, you got to shower at home now. Like, ugh.
Stay out of the green room, Monica, all right? Stay out of our green room and everything will be fine.
Monica,
wow.
Clean it up a little bit, maybe. I don't know.
It reminds me when I played in Greece, man, and those showers weren't adequate, so I just showered at home. I literally went home sweaty and just showered.
Both of you have nothing to say. Try playing Division II. Where there is hot water? No, it's winter. We don't have hot water. Good luck with that.
All right, guys. Coming up, Scott Burrell played on the Bulls, played at UConn, and also is currently the head coach at Southern Connecticut State University. His take on The Last Dance and much more when we come back on the MSG 150 at Home, presented by Chase.